Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first webinar on OER for COVID. This is a webinar session for Asia Pacific and the Caribbean. I am Sanjay Mishra from the Commonwealth of Learning. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to this session, along with Dr. Wayne McIntosh and the distinguished panelist, Professor Basudha Kamath, Professor from India, Professor Yona Sanmao from National University of Samoa, Rona Salik Lee from the UNESCO APIA office, and Mr. German Anthony from St. Lucia. Thank you, all of you, for joining. And I request everyone to mute their microphone at this stage. And just some housekeeping announcements I would like to make, especially to all our participants and viewers. Thank you very much for joining this session today with us. Kindly note that the session is currently being recorded, and this will be published openly online after the session. If you have any concern regarding privacy issues or anything, please use your personal discretion to use your video or chat area accordingly when the discussion starts. As I indicated, it's important for us to keep the microphone on mute and switch off the camera of the Zoom particular Zoom window. It's important that the mics are on mute because it will otherwise create echo effect and it will make difficult for listening. There, in the chat area, kindly ask your questions or make comments as the presentations goes on. One of us will note this and ask these questions to the panelist, and we will try to respond to those questions. Towards the end, you will also have opportunity to raise your hand, and we will come back to you. At that time, you can unmute your mic or even click on your video, and you can speak and ask questions directly online. So that's the basic thing, protocol that we will follow. So with that, I think I just want to give a brief about what is this initiative all about, so that we can start the whole process of presentation from the panelists and have the interaction. The overall objective for us is to have the dialogue and discussion. This is a community-driven initiative, and therefore it's important for us to listen to all of you, your concerns, your challenges, and what kind of things you can do for the community as such. So just to give you an overview, I'll just share a few slides at this stage. Specific objectives for this project are to actually establish an open online community network, or we can say support network for all of us, because we strongly believe is that as a team, in collaboration, we can actually come out of the current crisis of lockdown in the schools, colleges, and universities. We also would like to look at the local needs, particularly in the Commonwealth countries. We understand that today viewers from other countries have also joined, and we welcome everyone to this session because we want everybody to share resources, and this is global crisis, not just the Commonwealth countries, but we would like to focus on some of the Commonwealth countries' local needs and try to address those issues. We'll curate openly licensed resources that will help educators and learners transitioning to online learning. We'll give examples of using open technologies, because we believe that some of the vendor proprietary products might create lock-in for post-COVID period as well. So it's important for us to give examples of open technology uses through this network, which our partner OER Foundation has been promoting most of the time. And you will see the real examples of some of these technologies through this network. We'll share OER-enabled online courses for reuse and remixing. This is another important thing, that community will share their courses through the platform, and anybody else can take that, because we are focusing on open educational resources. So reuse and remixing would be much easier through collaboration process, and teachers will be able to create courses quickly in this the current situation. In the whole process, one of the challenge what we have identified, we will definitely would like to listen from you, is that capacity building requirement and how can we help. And there are already some of the activities already planned, some of the resources are already there, but we will also look at what kind of needs will that, and in this process, in the next 1.5 months, we would arrange series of community driven webinar sessions that will help enhance capacity to use OER to offer online courses as per local needs. And just to give an overview about the process, after my brief introduction that I'm just trying to set the context of the whole discussion, we'll play a video message from Professor Asa Connor, President and Chief Executive Officer of Commonwealth of Learning. We will listen to the panelists today. What is their perspective, what kind of things they are engaged in, what is that they think it will be most useful in the current situation, and so on and so forth. We'll listen to them. And then Dr. Wen McIntosh will provide an overview of the activities that are already being planned in short-term and medium-term ways, and would then engage with all the participants to get your ideas, and you will then able to join on and ask questions or give your reflection or give your comment, give your suggestions that how we can best utilize that. And then of course we'll end with that. That will be the agenda. In the introduction, I'll be failing in my duty if I don't really acknowledge the contributions that we have received from several of our partners, including the UNESCO National Commission for New Zealand, which is supported hosting of the servers for Synchronous Discussion Forum and Big Blue Button coming in. But our partners, UNESCO Institute of Information and Information Technology in Education, International Council for Open and Distance Education, the World Bank Group Open Learning Center, then the Open Education Global, all these have joined together. And there are many informal support that we are getting every day from all of you to make this happen reality. My sincere thanks to every one of you who have been supporting us in this endeavor. So thank you very much. With this, I would like to stop the sharing and would like to go with the video. I would show the video at this stage from Professor Asa Kanwar.
Greetings from the Commonwealth of Learning. Today we are in a situation that none of us could have imagined a few weeks ago. Over 80% of students are not able to attend schools due to closures because of COVID-19. This has resulted in a learning crisis that needs our collective support. Open distance and online learning have become the only means for educational institutions to keep the doors of learning open. For some of them, this is an entirely new experience and uncharted territory. How can we help them and each other tide over this crisis? Online learning and open educational resources, or OER, are being recommended by many as a way forward. With years of experience in both these areas, online learning as well as OER, we at CALL know that these solutions work very well. This is not the time for too much planning. What we need right now is concrete action on the ground to help teachers and students to continue the teaching learning process without disruption. So instead of starting from scratch, let us use existing OER to keep the doors of learning open. CALL has been involved with OER even before the term was first coined, and has been part of the OER movement for many years now. And CALL has worked with governments and educational institutions to create policy, develop courses, and build capacity for integrating OER in teaching and learning. The principles of openness, sharing, and collaboration that characterize the OER movement will guide us in our collective response to this crisis. This will include capacity development and the curation of courses for specific requirements. The OER4COVID initiative aims to follow a community consultation process to establish an open online community support network for educators tasked with transitioning to online learning. The community will assist in the process of curating openly licensed resources to assist educators and learners. We will also build capacity among educators to design and develop OER-enabled online courses for local needs. I am thankful to the OER Foundation for coming forward to support CALL to facilitate this process of online community and capacity building. I also welcome the UNESCO International Institute for Technology in Education, Moscow, and the International Council for Open and Distance Education as partners. Special thanks are due to the New Zealand National Commission for UNESCO for making it possible to provide web conferencing tools for synchronous communications for educators. The Commonwealth of Learning believes that knowledge is our commonwealth and that OER have tremendous potential for helping us make a smooth transition to online provision. Thank you for being part of this community and for your commitment to collaboration and sharing. Stay safe, stay well, and stay cheerful. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We will move next to the presentations from our panelists. So may I first request Professor Iona Chanma, would you like to go first?
Ready to present now, if it's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Let me just put up my presentation. Yeah. So I just want to thank everyone for giving the National University of Samoa the opportunity to present at this panel in terms of OER for COVID. I think my role here is for this presentation is to present to you what the National University of Samoa has done in terms of the online initiative. So I'm just going to go through that, and I will focus on our institution. So I'm going to all right. So the first thing I'd like to point out, and I just want to point out that the presentation is based on the key questions that were sent over. And so the first thing I'd like to address is the first question is, what is the state of COVID-19 in your country? Now, like most countries, our country is right now in a national lockdown. A state of emergency was declared on March 21st, but it has now been extended for another 4 weeks to May 2nd. Under the state of emergency, schools and post-secondary institutions have closed. Public transport like buses are closed, can no longer operate. Stopped all international flights except for sea freight supplies. In terms of social distancing, large public gatherings have been banned, and this also includes things like churches and weddings, and the gatherings restricted to groups of less than 5. So in a nutshell, we are still at this point corona-free. There have been 26 suspected cases initially that were cleared, but there are 12 more suspected cases which have been sent for testing. But right now, we are corona-free. All right, so moving on to the second question that was fielded for this panel. What has your institution done so far in terms of transitioning to emergency remote teaching? And I want to point out that before the lockdown, that the National University of Samoa launched its pandemic plan on early March, on March the 5th. And this was later activated on March 21st when the lockdown or the state of emergency was declared. But just to give you some ideas of the activities that we have done in terms of preparing for remote teaching. So the first thing we did was to establish a Moodle team, which comprised of members of our ICT division, the Faculty of Science, and our professional center, the Olaman. We then went about putting together a work plan and a budget. There was, in order to ensure a good connectivity, we had to make considerable changes and upgrades to the infrastructure, additional internet, additional servers, backup servers. These were some of the things that we engaged in. To enable staff and student access, because of the fact that Moodle is online, we then negotiated with the two major mobile phone providers, Vodafone and Digicel, for the provision of what we call zero data SIM cards. Now this allows when staff and students to connect for free to the selected sites, for example, Moodle, and all the supporting sites to enable our online learning initiative. At the same time, we had to provide training for the staff. Please note that we were given very little time to prepare, less than 2 weeks to prepare for the lockdown. And in order to do the training, we had to also bring out flyers, manual for Moodle for both staff and students. And these were sent out through the various technological media, through email, through Facebook, through Moodle itself, um, and of course using the radio broadcast. The training for staff, that was a major undertaking. Our initial training was for logging in, for uploading courses and teaching them how to use Moodle for teaching from home. Also, we tried to, also add online assessments, forums, and the gradebook. Now, these are the next lot of features which will be covered in the next lot of training. So one of the major activities that we had to do was the uploading of courses to the Moodle platform. Please note that for our university, we have about 316 courses, 316 courses, 2,800 students, and 300 staff. So it was quite a major undertaking getting the teachers, the lecturers, to upload these courses and to provide an incentive to faculty. The Vice Chancellor offered an award for the faculty that would upload the most courses. Moving on still on our activities, and I'd like to acknowledge the contribution of Carl and others in the form of the sharing of your OERs resources that we have now been using for not only for training, but also for the course content. And we would like to acknowledge this contribution. In order for us to reach out, one of the issues, I think, in this online learning and remote teaching is to ensure that the staff and students are engaged. And so we have used the alternative modes of delivery to supplement Moodle. So we're using not just Moodle, but we're supplementing Moodle with things like Facebook, Google, Classrooms, Messenger, and Zoom, to mention a few. The other thing we want to point out is we're also we have our own radio station, so we've also been using the radio broadcast also for delivering lectures. As I said before, notices sent out using all forms of media to keep staff and students both engaged and informed. I want to finish off this part of the presentation by giving you an insight in a nutshell of what kind of issues. As you all know, this has been quite a challenging undertaking. Initially, remember, most of the courses have been face-to-face, and the training that we have been providing to the staff has mostly been on hybrid learning, face-to-face supplemented by the Moodle, the online. So now we've asked them to go fully online, and not only just fully online, but to work from home. So it was quite a challenge for both staff and students. So some of the issues, I think the skill levels of staff and students, especially staff, is an issue. So we're trying to address this with training. Connectivity has been an issue because most of the country is now online. So we have instances of online congestion, but we are working very hard to ensure that this doesn't dent our efforts on online. So again, staff and student engagement, again, as I've said before, is an issue. And the other thing that is a concern for us is the assessment, especially the competency-based assessment. And we are now into week eight of our curriculum. And if the lockdown extends past week 14, then we will have to also consider having all our examinations, if we do examinations online. So these are the issues, the competency base and also the offering of online exams.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor Yona. We will get back to you if we have time again.
Okay.
And we'll now request other panelists to share their views, particularly related to the situation in their country or region through their own experience. May I now request Professor Basudha Kamath, please?
Yes, thank you, thank you. I will also have a presentation.
Ma'am, your video is off now, so you can.
Yes, I am showing my presentation.
Okay.
So sharing my screen. Hello everyone. It was really reassuring to listen to previous speaker and also listening to Asha. Like, yes, this is a situation which is temporary and we are really moving very fast as a world together and fighting with COVID-19. Thank you, Dr. Mishra and Wen for organizing these webinars. But I'm very sure that after COVID-19, the world which we will enter will not be the same. Are you able to see my slides?
Yes, please.
Okay. As Dr. Sanjaya mentioned, there are 6 aims of these webinars. I will touch upon 2 of them. India is a very huge country and its higher education system is also huge. It has 900 universities and nearly 50,000 colleges. There are about 37.4 million students and about 1.4 million teachers teaching them. So this will give you some idea of its hugeness. Most of the teaching is conducted in face-to-face and or blended mode. But now due to lockdown situation in the entire country, the classrooms had to be shifted online. But all the teachers may not be technologically ready and the technology infrastructure is also not in place to go fully online. There may not be computer labs, there may not be devices, there may not be broadband connectivity and many issues. Many universities do have the technical know-how and infrastructure. They have been using blended learning mode, so it was easier for them to shift online. Others are exploring the way to go online. These webinars under OER4COVID initiatives are going to be a great help. As I said, I will touch upon 2 aims. One is capacity building among teacher educators to design and develop OER. In India, Ministry of Human Resource Development, MHRD, Government of India has initiated massive program of Swayam platform, where more than 2,000 credit-based MOOCs are offered to faculty and students. You can see here 2007 MOOCs are already available there. When the students join these, they get credits for the same, which are accepted by the universities. This was not done during COVID, but it has started already, and it is really helping in a great way. Now these MOOCs are in much demand. MHRD has initiated a scheme for faculty development for higher education teachers for their induction when they are new and continuous professional development. There are 95 such institutions like teaching learning centers, faculty development centers, etc. Now in these times of social distancing, all of them have started conducting faculty development programs for online learning, development of MOOC, online assessment, and many such things. It is heartening to note that thousands of teachers are showing their interest in learning to move their classes online and continue interaction with their students. The teachers are using Google Classroom, Zoom, Skype, Moodle, Edmodo, Padlet, and many such platforms to conduct synchronous and asynchronous interaction. Faculty from many states in India are now developing micro-level OERs in regional language. You can see it here. One faculty member has been developing short duration programs and in regional languages, and he uploads those as OER. So how to create a form, how to create a quiz, and such small little things which go a long way. And I think this is a very important resource for us, a country with many languages. I am very happy to share with you that Teaching Learning Center of SNDT Women's University, to which I belonged for many years and I retired in 2016 as Vice Chancellor, has been using online mode for faculty development for the last 3 years. Today, many of the participants of various programs conducted by them are using online tools and OERs for their students. I have been conducting workshops for faculty for the last 3-4 years after retirement to introduce them to ICTs in teaching, learning, and evaluation processes. And it is amazing to experience how our faculty from India is keen to learn new technology as well as experiment with it. On 6th of April, MHRD has set up a committee to promote online education and examination. They will look into the matter and see how online education can be promoted. The second aim was to develop and share OER enabled courses. I would like to share with you a project, Open Education for Better World, OE4BW. It's a project running for the last 3 years, and I am associated with it in many capacities like mentor, Asia Hub coordinator, and now I am a member of its advisory committee. This initiative is started by Professor Mithya Jarmol, UNESCO Chair on Open Technologies for OER and Open Learning in Slovenia, in collaboration with Professor Tanya Urbanse. She is from University of Nova Gorica, Slovenia. This is a tuition-free online international mentoring program. You can see it here. It is running for the last 3 years in 6 continents, 35 countries, and last 3 years we have been developing 257 participants are working and developing 125 projects. This project encourages interested professionals to develop OERs, mainly short duration MOOCs, say 12 to 15 hours, and offer those free of cost. Then make the MOOC available as OER to anyone offering it. Last year, many developers use MOOCkit. That is a MOOCkit platform developed by IIT Kanpur in India, and it was used by many developers. This year, our Asia Hub has 31 OER developers, and I am very happy that all are from India. We have 22 mentors mentoring them, and I could see Professor Mustafa here. He is one of the mentors from Bangladesh. I am happy to share that 14 of these are from India, mentors, and 8 are from 8 different countries. This interaction with different mentors from different countries is very useful, very valuable. All these developers and mentors are working on the projects free of cost, and I was very happy to see many of them joining these webinars. This is a real contribution to the development of OER in a big way. I thank Professor Wayne McIntosh and Dr. Sanjay Mishra from Cole and Asha Kaur for this opportunity of sharing my thoughts with you. Be safe and be healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kamath. Thank you very much for the presentation, giving an overview of what's happening in India and your experience of working in the OER, Open Education for Better World project. Thank you very much. May I at this stage request Ms. Rona Salek, please?
Hi there. Sorry, I'm just getting someone to share this you some information, just a snapshot of the Pacific. So I'm presenting on behalf of about 15 Pacific Island states or Pacific Small Island Developing States for the UNESCO RP office. Rather than going into details on what each country is doing, I will be presenting about the challenges for teaching and learning for several of the SIDS in the Pacific. So one of the major challenges of
We are not hearing you, Rona.
Hello? Are you there?
Go
Can you
ahead,
hear me?
please. Yes, we can now.
Sorry, this is one of the challenges we have here in the Pacific Small Island Developing States. Sorry, so I'm trying to send through a file, which is basically a snapshot of the challenges for teaching and learning for SIDS in the Pacific. OER is still very new and is not fully recognized in the Pacific. And COVID-19 and the lockdowns definitely presents opportunities to mainstream OER as many Pacific Island states make the transition to online learning. Before we get into what UNESCO here in the APIA office, what limited resources we can offer to assist, I'd just like to go over general challenges for teaching and learning. And the digital divide, of course, there are many disparities in education for marginalized groups, and it contributes to the gender divide. But online learning is definitely a challenge for all the SIDS in the Pacific. So access is very access is limited. Teacher preparedness. Professor Joanna had already talked about the limited time given to prepare teachers from your usual classroom setting to now preparing packages of materials for weeks at a time for students. Communication is a challenge for SIDS Pacific education system. So communications between schools and families. So now you have parents who initially were not teachers for their children are now in charge of education at home. So the communication and not just teacher preparedness, but the preparedness of families and parents to have to tutor their students, their kids at home. Connectivity, so cost is a challenge for Pacific Island SIDS, and definitely the speed, very slow connectivity for most of us out here in the islands. And I think one of the issues that and the challenges that we need to really look closely to is in the inclusive of education. So we're really concerned for the gender disparities that online learning presents, as well as that include the needs of those living with disabilities, learners living with disabilities. So delivery modalities for SIDS in the Pacific at the moment, so this is how many of the Pacific Island states are trying to deliver education during lockdowns. We have SIDS that are using television and radio. So teachers are preparing homeschooling packages. Professor Joanna already mentioned the student sims, where our ICT, our telephone companies are offering free essential education sites. The giving free data. Some teachers are using recorded teachings and uploading them online, not just on education websites, but on social media platforms, which seems to be the popular sites for that people in SIDS nations congregate. And many of the education ministry websites in Pacific Island SIDS have online resources and have curriculums that have been uploaded. And it's been mentioned before, has sent in applications and packages of online learning sites to also help Ministry of Educations with their resources. So our wish list here in the SIDS, we have a long wish list, but I think what the Commonwealth of Learning and the OER Foundation can offer, we are very excited about the opportunities to have training on OER development. So from the UNESCO side, we can help coordinate educators and coordinate teachers in groups so that we can participate in these trainings once they're available. And we would really like to have more access to the open education resources. We, like mentioned earlier, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We would really like, however, to have access to some of these open education resources and use some of the funding that we have available for different Pacific Island states to translate these into the different local vernaculars. And definitely, we would really love some inclusive learning solutions. So ideas on how to make OER more inclusive, and also to ensure that not just inclusive for learners, but also for teachers who specialize in special needs teaching. So connectivity in the Pacific is definitely a major issue. And of course, I think this is probably a universal issue, but definitely for Pacific Island communities, especially in the remote and rural areas, connectivity is an issue. So a lot of our educators are needing to print and create homeschooling packages, but of course that incurs costs as well from printing. So this is I will send a link to the snapshot. So it basically gives you an idea. So after this webinar, you'll be able to click on links that gives you Pacific community updates. So it gives you an idea of all our challenges, and also there is WHO data studio with specific requests from Pacific Island states. And so far that's what we've got. So for generally, in the Pacific, our challenge for COVID is we do not testing machines here. So, but luckily, majority of us also have no COVID-19 cases. So we're hoping to keep it that way and have the challenges to education be our only issue and not COVID-19.
Thank you, Rona, let's say, for this overview in the Pacific, and we look forward to the presentation that probably could be shared on the site by when says yes. And I would now quickly go to German Anthony from St. Lucia. He is patiently waiting. I think if he's the to share some of the things that St. Lucia is doing, and particularly the Caribbean context. So it's over to you, German, for 2-3 minutes to quickly give an overview.
Hi, Sanjay. Good evening from St. Lucia. It's at the moment 5 minutes to midnight, so I'm happy to be here. I'm really happy to hear from the other territories what's going on. St. Lucia is as you know, a small place. Let me just share my screen very quickly. It's like I'm trying to compete for space on my small device. Oh, there we go. Right. So hopefully everyone can see. So our situation is that we're a pretty small population of 180,000 people. We have just over 2,200 teachers in the system, just under 30,000 students in the K to 11 category. And we have just about 100 schools spread throughout the island. The schools are very much scattered around the island. Our context, as you can well imagine, is similar to any other small island with a heavy reliance on grant funding, technical support from outside. In a lot of ways, we have some underdeveloped frameworks in terms of policy-wise capacity as well. One of the things that came to, I suppose, stark attention of ministry officials is that, we really need to do something about this ability for teachers to be able to deliver instruction online. But I think how we look at this is very important. And so I think we have to accept first and foremost that we will not be going back to any kind of old normal or the way things used to be, but that we should be okay with that. And I note that this was a place of a lot of complacency. And I think COVID-19 is having a lot of us to reflect on, what is it that is really important, as opposed to, things that would have just been done on an ad hoc basis, or just because, that was the way it was being done. So we are definitely going to have to learn to adapt. And as someone once said, you cannot let a good crisis go to waste. So we really have to look at this as an opportunity to see what we could do to build a lot more resilience in our education system, as fragile as it is. And we have to accept, just thinking about Vanuatu and Solomon Islands this week, that COVID-19 is really just one of several potential threats. Since the onset of COVID-19, and we've had to carry out some kind of assessment of the situation. Immediately, forms were sent out to teachers, principals, to try to get a feel as to what schools were doing, what had they been doing before, how can we, and it turns out we were just 1 or 2 weeks before the Easter break anyway. So the understanding was we were going to look at what can we do to maybe mitigate what has happened, the impact of the crisis come third term, come the first term of the next academic year, and so forth. So we tried to gather some data on what's happening with teachers' use of platforms, what methods were they using to reach the students, and also, as we are very much aware, access is very much an issue. I would like to think that our access to internet is not as bad as in some places, but the access to the device is obviously still an issue like it is anywhere else. We also held some meetings with online webinars, not webinars, so web meetings with principals, and in particular technology teachers. Thankfully, we have a good cohort of teachers who were trained through the C Delta program, and these teachers have really been very much enthusiastic. They are my frontliners because they're the ones now who are going to be going to deliver some of the webinars to their peers. So we also had to take stock of what we had, what's available. we know that we have a Moodle server. We've been developing courses on that server. We have not reached our target in terms of getting a sufficient number of courses on there. But one of the good things we've been able to do is to have the mathematics course for grades 10 and 11. And those from the Caribbean will know we're talking about CSEC examinations. So we have that course nearly completed. And we are having more teachers right now who are interested in helping to create content for that Moodle. We have had before the Google Suite for Education platform available to all the secondary schools, the grades 7 to 11. Unfortunately, it is not widely used among the teachers and maybe not even all of the schools. Through one of the ISP providers, one of the internet service providers, we've had some meetings with trainers for Microsoft Suite for Education. And so we're looking to see how we might adopt that for the primary school, K-6 grades. We already had an ebook pilot that was just being deployed at the grade 9 level. And that does offer some opportunity to reach many of those students because they do have the devices with them. We were happy to find out that many teachers do in fact use some of the more ubiquitous technologies like Facebook and WhatsApp, although these are not LMS. And even when they have an LMS at their disposal, it looks like a lot of teachers were not actually using them. And we identified, we know the issue is that the training has not really been delivered for them to feel comfortable to use it. Right, so in terms of going forward, I'm happy to report that the South Louis Community College, which is our tertiary institution, community college on the island, they have decided to go fully online with their Moodle courses because we have no idea when school is going to reopen. And Royston Emmanuel, who has been a partner with us and with Call in delivering the seed of the program, he has been holding a series of Moodle webinars, which he has opened that up to all the teachers. The ministry has agreed that the first week of the next term, which really should be starting on Tuesday, that this week is going to be dedicated to professional development, so that we're looking at delivering training, particularly in Google Classroom for the secondary schools. And the reason is this is going to be a bit of an easier target for us to reach in terms of getting the critical mass of teachers at the secondary school level to be able to mediate, deliver some technology-enabled learning in the short to medium term. But our eyes are really set on Moodle as being the LMS of choice, except we know at the moment it will be a difficult transition to do in a short period of time. And moreover, we need to really create more content and courses in the longer term so that Moodle becomes more of more value in that sense. But in the meantime, we're proceeding with training more teachers in Google Classroom, as well as some of our technologically stronger teachers with the Moodle software. We do want to take advantage of that opportunity we've called to develop more OER courses that will reside in the Moodle. And of course, even our own teachers recognize that the matter of instructional design is something we have to address, but we are not trying to address it right now because as Professor Kanwa mentioned, you can't really have too much planning and too much preparing right now. We really need concrete actions. And so we are cognizant that all teachers may not be able to deliver online instruction in a very engaging and quality way at the moment, but we need to get them there, get them started, and we will work out the rest later. And just want to finally recognize some of the partners we're working with. I think I left out UNESCO. I should add that in. But definitely we have both our two major internet service providers, Digicel and Flow, have come through with offering to give to the teachers data plans for 1 month or 3 months, because the teachers would have to be using their mobile phones to send content to their students or their laptops. We're getting the Microsoft Suite for Education training through Digicel. Some of the media houses have approached the ministry to ask if they can support by helping to film lessons. And I think the ministry is looking at that for the primary schools, although I'm not yet sure how that's going to work out because of the requirement for social distancing. But definitely some of those television stations have had productions done before, mathematics, sciences. And so these are being rerun, particularly during the day, so that students at the primary school level can benefit. As I mentioned before, the issue of devices, access to devices is a significant one. And through one of the friendly governments, I think the ministry is hoping that they could assist some of the most needy students in maybe some of the more remote areas as well with some kind of device, so that they would be able to access whatever online resources are being set up. And I must also mention that one of the service providers is also, or has contributed 500 MiFi devices so that families that don't have internet access can get that. Plus they get the free 1 month data.
Thank you, German.
Yes.
Thank you, German. Thank you very much. I would like to go now because we are,
Sure.
we need to listen to a little bit about the facilitation process from Wayne. And also we need to take questions and suggestions that are coming from a large number of our the participants today.
Sure.
And definitely we would like to extend the time with all your permissions, because we need to listen to the community. And therefore, I will, without spending much time, I will straight go to Wayne now. And over to you, Wayne.
Thanks, Sanjaya, and kia ora, everyone. Greetings from New Zealand. It's great to be here, and Jermaine, my huge thanks for staying up well past pumpkin hour. It shows your dedication, and we're most appreciative. So at the onset, I just want to make one comment, and that is, this is my first COVID-19 crisis. And by that I mean each one of us are facing new challenges every day. And I firmly believe that if we do work together, we will be able to achieve a far better outcome through cooperation and collaboration. And this is why this OER for COVID initiative, I think, is so important. Just by way of interest, since we set up the OER for COVID website a week ago, we now have over 720 colleagues who've signed up to contribute, collaborate, and support each other. So thank you, everyone, for your generous gifts of knowledge to work together with us as we move forward with these challenges. So just very briefly, I want to give an overview of the structure of our initiative. As I indicated, there is no form of educational delivery that is more cost-effective, more sustainable, or more scalable than OER. And I think this is an appropriate response for moving forward. One of the graphics that has been in social media recently is this one from Phil Hill, which kind of gives a sense of how institutions are responding to the COVID crisis around the world. And I think the important message here is there's this first initial phase, which is the emergency response to transitioning to online, but we are certainly going to be going through a number of phases as we move forward. And so too with the OER for COVID initiative, we are going to structure our responses and our discussions and our support around, on the one hand, the short-term emergency responses, but then also what we need to be doing over the medium term as we move forward, because I suspect in many countries, the challenges will continue longer than we reasonably anticipate. So by way of example, in the short term, there are a number of things that we at the OER Foundation can do, and I'm just using these as examples because there will be many other examples from your own environments that you would be able to contribute. But first off, we will provide free and unrestricted access, including hosting costs, of all our OERU online courses to any institution in the world that wants to use those courses to support their own learners. And the OERU model is such that you could actually implement your own assessments for any one of the OERU courses for credit towards qualifications at your own institutions at no cost. So we will gift all those courses for any institution that needs help with transitioning. The other help facility we will provide, particularly for our collaborators and coordinators with the OER for COVID initiative, is we will provide access to an account on Big Blue Button, which is an open source web conferencing facility, so that our educators who are in lockdown, who want to collaborate with each other in finding solutions, working with OER for COVID, will have access to open source web conferencing facilities without any risks of sacrificing your personal data. And I want to acknowledge the New Zealand National Commission for UNESCO, who has provided the funding support for us to be able to run the Big Blue Button server to help this initiative. The other help we can provide in the short term for you is any institution, tertiary education institution in low and lower middle income countries, as well as every single education institution in small island states, can join the OERU Outreach Partnership Program and become a full member of the OERU without paying any membership fees. So these are short-term actions that we can assist with, and I'm sure there will be many short-term actions within our community where we can come together and help each other. As Sanjaya has already mentioned, in the medium term, we will also provide support for capacity development for educators in your countries. Starting on the 6th of May, we will run the OER Copyright and Open Licensing in a Digital Age course in collaboration with the Commonwealth of Learning and the International Council for Open and Distance Education. It's a free online course. We'll run a facilitated offering, which you can make available to all your teachers and educators at your institutions free of charge. We will also provide free access to the competency test for your educators to earn the competency certification in copyright and Creative Commons licensing, because that is a key skill and knowledge that is required in order to be able to remix and build online courses using OER. We will also provide a facilitated offering of a free course, Digital Skills for Collaborative OER Development, to help educators at your institutions to design, develop, and implement open online courses using OER. So in the medium term, those are some of the things we'll be able to help you with. And finally, in terms of how we're thinking about structuring our collaborations and our support, from the presentations from the panelists, I think you would all agree that we need to act locally but share globally, because the contextual differences in each of our regions are very, very different, and responses need to be coming from our local countries and our local initiatives. So we were putting out a call after the 2 webinars for volunteers who would like to serve as coordinators, either at your own institution, at a provincial or a state level, coordinators at a national level, or at a regional level. And we will provide those coordinators access to our Big Blue Button web conferencing facility to hold synchronous web conferences locally with teams as we move forward in supporting each other. We're also thinking that of establishing different work streams. These are just a few ideas initially. A work stream for curriculum design, learning design, content development, perhaps a work stream for technology support. We would welcome contributions from folk in the community who could assist with online facilitation of our online capacity development courses, either face-to-face in your own countries or online using our open technologies. We're thinking of conducting a little bit of research to help understand what are the needs in each of our countries. We'll run a survey on our Lime survey, open source technologies, and it would be great if we could have a team of folk who are interested in research in helping us put that questionnaire together. Of course, health and well-being of our educators is extremely important. I think we need to focus on that. We're going to need help with, particularly I'm thinking of people working, the library professionals who can assist us with the curation of resources we're finding to support everybody. And then also perhaps a team who can work with us in providing the community communications. So that is just a sort of a high level idea of how we're thinking of structuring this initiative. After the two webinars, we have another webinar a little bit later for the African and European regions. We will put out a survey for volunteers who might want to work as coordinators or within the different working groups. And of course, if there are more coordinators at each institution, that's fine. We can set up rotation, systems where different coordinators, coordinate for a week or two and then hand over to another coordinator. So these are a couple rough ideas which we have at the moment in terms of what we can contribute in the short term and long term. But I'd be very keen to hear your thoughts on our ideas in terms of moving forward, but also any contributions you could respectively make in this regard. So I'm not sure if now is monitoring the folk who've put up their hands, but if you put up your hand and have any thoughts and contributions, please do so.
We have a couple of people raise their hands, so I will try them first. And there are a couple of questions already there, so I will take those questions first. In the meanwhile, Na has sent me a list of questions, comments that has come on the chat.
Yep.
So I will try to take those questions, and then I will ask Na if I miss some of the things. There are a number of people who are asking. At this stage, I will go to Neeraj. If Neeraj, you are there, I'm allowing you to, you can talk. Neeraj Kumar, you are there? Neeraj Kumar? Okay, and then I will go to Dr. Joshna Amin.
Hello, sir. This is Dr. Jyotsna Amin. I'm from MS University of Baroda, and I'm working with Department of Education. And I have tried with Moodle, and I could go up to teaching, developing e-video, e-content, uploading, to the extent of Google Form and all I could access. But now our university has started with the training program for the Moodle. But I would like to explore the possibilities of the e-assessment, if it is possible, when it comes to certification of the courses, because in a time to come, and this COVID has shown us that torchlight that now we need to go for that. So if you can throw some light on that. And then I had one question to one of the panelists who was talking about zero data SIM card. Vodafone and Idea or something. So if you can throw light on that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Joshna. Thank you very much. I will first ask if Professor Iona can speak about the data related things.
Yes, about the zero data SIM card, we negotiated with the mobile phone companies if they could provide us with SIM cards that we give to the students, and that when they use the SIM card, for example, when they connect to selected sites, that there's no data expended. They don't. It's free access. So all the sites, Moodle and the supporting sites, are all zero data. So that's what we mean by zero data SIM cards. I don't know whether that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Iona. I think the next question that is most important, and it has consistently come, and several people have asked in the chat box also about the assessment issues in this current period. How do you do it? And Dr. Joshna also asked about that thing. Maybe I would request Professor Kamath to provide some throw some light on this, how things assessment could be done, or Wayne can talk about that.
Are you asking about e-assessment or capacity building?
E-assessment, ma'am. A lot of questions have come about e-assessment, like just now.
What happens? We are excessively assessed by end of semester examination. We should stop that. During the semester, 13 weeks or 15 weeks, we should try and continuous assessment processes should be installed, in place. Now there are many tools available if you are using Moodle, if you are using Edmodo or Google Classroom. Many learning management systems provide you with tools like quizzes, concept maps. Then there are test modes all everywhere, and many tools out. Many tools are available which also give you the whole data analysis. Till now, the teacher gives a paper and pencil test and sets and corrects it. There is no need with these tools continuously. Only thing is that you should not be asking questions on memory. Who said this? When he or she said this? Where did they do this? These questions should be totally avoided. So if we give a cases, if even Google, even the Moodle discussion forum itself also can be used as evaluation assessment tool. We generally use mind maps, and not mind maps so much, but concept maps are very helpful in understanding of the learner, whether the learners have understood. When we give them the group work, now many LMSs, Edmodo or Moodle or Google Classroom, they give you a possibility or opportunity to work in groups, small groups, 3, 4. Now there is a history what each one is doing. So while assessing them, their work, their product, I think that we should shift from memory-based knowledge and information and remembering to analyzing, creating something new. So these things are very important, and today's ICT tools are very helpful in assessing those.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll now request Professor Mustafa to speak and ask the question or make some comments quickly.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sanjay. It's a very nice arrangement. Thanks, ONE. And I am seeing Professor Basudha Kamath, so I'm attached to her with in the project. So my second of observation is that the main challenge we face, because we are working with these things in Bangladesh, so the main problem is to let the colleagues unlearn these things. So they don't like to come back from the traditional practices. Now, due to this kind of COVID pressure, they are moving to the online teaching. So the challenge is the resources they are using, these are mostly copyrighted. So it's a big challenge. So this kind of mainstreaming is very important at this stage. So I think this webinar may help, and if YNE has any other plan, because it's a for this kind of problem. So most of the people, most of the universities, they are trying to teach online. So whatever they are sharing, they are not aware of that, what they are sharing. So in that case, how to use the OER. So this kind of mainstreaming is important. So I may have some comments from OER about this.
Wayne, please go ahead.
Sure. So one of the things that we, as a community-led initiative, we are, after these webinars, we will set up dedicated forums for the challenges and suggestions around, short-term interventions, as well as medium-term interventions, where anybody in the community can ask their questions and or provide solutions and share solutions with regards to what they are doing, so that we can have a community-led response that is specific to the needs of our disparate countries, across the globe. Similarly, for example, Professor Kamat has given an outstanding summary of important pedagogical implications for designing appropriate assessment in these times. But in addition to that, there are also a number of very challenging technological issues around online moderation, identity validation, and these kinds of things as well. And so part of what we're hoping to do with the OER for COVID initiative is to every week or 10 days have dedicated office hour webinar sessions where we can bring in experts and different universities and institutions who have responded to these challenges and sharing their experiences of how they tackled the problem. So we will certainly provide those levels of support and be guided by the questions that the community is offering in the discussion forums. Possibly what I should do quickly for the benefit of everyone, if you go to the OER for COVID website, right, over here, you will see there are a set of resources, community, under the community tools link there. You will see a number of open source technologies we are using to support the community. And one of the prime objectives of the OER for COVID initiative is to provide opportunities for educators around the world to actually experience open source, open tools solutions, as opposed to necessarily having to adopt some proprietary tool where your data is given away to third-party corporates. So over the coming weeks, we'll be providing a range of support and be guided by the questions you are providing and the solutions you are suggesting. So I hope that answers your question, Mustafa.
Thank you, Wen. I think we have taken lots of time, but I think I'll still take few minutes of all of your time, please, particularly to take on some of the questions that people are asking on the chat forum and also on the Q&A and the webinar. I'll just go through those things and then I will request one of the panel members to respond. There is question from Jagdish Joshi talking about access to free courses for capacity building. I can tell that there are a number of courses that are already available on OER. Call has a course on understanding OER, and we are now, when talked about having a new course coming up in May on copyright and OER. So there are lots of resources on capacity building already available around us. Bandana has asked us about where to get a Moodle site. So there are many free Moodle options available. One I would suggest to look at. Of course, you are already using Moodle Cloud, but there are other options definitely available, and we will try to share some of those through the OER for COVID website. And of course, there are issues and challenges about assessment and creating conditioning learning environment. Some of the participants have also raised issues about access to technologies, and particularly students don't have technologies. So one of the things that I think all of us need to think about approaches beyond online, and I think I would thank some of the participants, Rajendra Sinde, Priyam Sukla, who have asked about this type of questions. But one thing that has been asked by many people when is about the big blue button. So I think you can quickly say a few words about big blue button again. What kind of support you will be providing to the facilitators?
Yes, of course, and again, thankfully, with funding support from the New Zealand National Commission for UNESCO, we are hosting a Big Blue Button web conferencing facility and tool. It is entirely open source, which will give educators the capabilities of interacting with each other. You know, it's similar to Zoom in terms of the technology we're using here, but with one big difference: it's entirely open source. But it is also a technology that was designed for supporting education. It has a number of features that are specific to helping educators, you know, support their education. And we will be providing access to all the coordinators of the OER for COVID initiative to interact with their colleagues in supporting the OER for COVID initiative. And we will make an announcement very soon on the email list and the website as to how individuals can get access to that technology.
Thank you, Wen. I'll just take a few more comments on the chat room that has come from our participants. Dr. Ashok Banerjee is highlighted a very important issue about content in local languages. And I think this initiative, one of the things is to promote local content creation through OER, and that's how our great effort is towards. Biswajit talks about content in the context of socio-economic and cultural diversity. Issues related to devices have been raised by lots of people. People are interested in more workshop for leaders and principals. Probably this is something that we can look at, the possibilities of organizing something for the school principals and headmasters, those kind of people. But lots of questions that has come about from people is about capacity building, online learning, native quotes. I think we are on target as far as this collaboration is concerned. People are not only interested to learn, but also there are people who are interested to help around. So some of them are sharing what they are already doing. So there are already experience in the community. Professor Harichandan has asked about capacity building, and we have touched about capacity building in the presentation from Professor Kamath and as well as in the whole initiative. So there are lots of questions related to exactly what we are doing, but many questions related to access to technology, many questions related to language issues, capacity building, contextualization, e-assessment. So it's a whole range of issues that are coming up. But I would like to thank everyone and close this session. But before I close, I'll just go to each of the panelists quickly for their 30 seconds. And I will start with German. If you are there to speak for 30 seconds, any critical issue that we missed, you just want to talk about 30 seconds, very quick.
Hi, I can't say that any issues were missed, but I found it interesting that in consulting with our technology teachers, the practitioners, those who are really using these modalities, some of the things they brought up. And I think while we have a lot of ambition for getting more teachers and educators using these platforms, there are lots of considerations, we have to think about in terms of the quality of the content that they put up, or how they put these things together, the amount of workload. In fact, we have some parents who actually complain the teachers were sending them too many things via WhatsApp, too many, worksheets, etc. So I think these are considerations where we'll have to look at moving forward, as much as we're trying to get everyone to adopt these platforms. And I think it's a good time now to start thinking about how we will fast track teachers, let's say, effective use of these platforms.
Thank you, Chairman. May I request Professor Kamath for a quick remark?
Thank you. Actually, this last 1 month has been really frightening, because the news which is coming in is really very sad. But I must thank both of you for organizing this and giving an opportunity for meeting several people. I'm really saddened that people want to go online, but because there is no infrastructure in place, students cannot go online. The many of you are writing there. But I was thinking, can we use WhatsApp? Can we use that new Telegram? For example, they don't need a lot of bandwidth, and workshops can be conducted, interaction can be initiated, examination assessment can be done, and lot of tools can be used on WhatsApp. So we have to find out new technology tools which don't need a big bandwidth, but still it will help us to keep in touch with our students, with our colleagues, and with experts like from Professor Wayne. It's really heartening to meet all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Kamath. May I now go to Professor Yona for a quick 30 seconds? Professor Yona? Okay, can I go to Rona Selek first then for a quick 30 seconds?
Hi, yes, so I agree with all the panelists. It's been this has been a really informative and very useful webinar. And for the Pacific Island states, I think connectivity is an issue, but one of the areas that we probably want to focus on is the teacher preparedness, and not just teachers, but from my end, I'm more than happy to. I think I volunteered my services earlier to Dr. Wayne to coordinate our Pacific Island states, and we would like to focus on capacity building for how to develop OERs that are inclusive. And also we from the UNESCO Pacific APIA office, we will try and assist our Pacific Island states with some funding to translate those OERs into local vernaculars. And I like what Dr. Wayne had said. We have to act locally but think globally. So I look forward to tapping into to all the expert knowledge that's available, and bridging our educators and professionals from the Pacific Island states to the Commonwealth of Learning, and to the rest of all the experts that are the expertise that's available to them. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Rona. I just missed Professor Yona. I think there was a call drop or something like that. But Wayne, your last 30 seconds to thank everybody.
Oh, just very quickly, this is only the beginning of the process, and we are all educators, and we all join this profession for the prime purpose of sharing knowledge freely. And I'm extending an open invitation to all of us. Let's come together in the discussion forums, share our questions, but also to share our solutions as the educators and the profession we chose to support. So thank you, everyone. Let's move forward, and we are going to find the solutions we need.
Oh, thank you, Wen. Thank you all the panelists, esteemed panelists, for sharing your time with us. But most importantly, a huge round of thanks to all the participants today. We had over 220 participants today. Thank you, each one of you, for your spending time and encouraging us for this activity that we are engaged in. We all together will be able to overcome the challenge that we are working with, and we believe OER is the right solution at this stage to keep education going without disruption. Thank you very much to each one of you again, and my submission to all of you to stay safe, stay well, and stay cheerful, as Professor Asa says. Thank you very much.